Thank you so much. Can I welcome you to the final accounts committee? We don't do this very often, so we last did it in April. Apologies for absence, please, Carol. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Does anybody have any? Please raise your hand. No? Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting, which was the 9th of April. Goodness. Can I have somebody to approve? I think we're all there, actually. Thanks so much. You can have a second. All those in favour? So I'll go through the pages as usual, all 2 pages. Page 1, page 2. No questions. Brilliant. Thank you. Public speaking. I haven't been advised of any. Thank you. So on to item 5, which is the statement of accounts for 23-24. I'm going to go to you.
Do you want to vote on this?
Oh, we didn't, did we? We can vote on them. All in favour? Minutes? All happy. So item 5, statement of accounts.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, members. As it was only April that we last had a similar meeting, just to reiterate, this is for our statement of accounts, our audit process and value for money process for the 23-24 financial year. I'm not going to speak for very long. We have colleagues from Grant Thornton here on screen with us, and I will let them introduce themselves as they go through each item. Through this final accounts committee, we've essentially got 4 recommendations. The first is to receive the audit findings report, the first item, that Oscar and Grace will deliver to you. The second is to receive the auditor's annual report, mainly on value for money, which she will deliver to you on the second point. That's at Annex 2. For you as members to authorise me to issue a letter of representation to the auditors and to have that signed following this meeting. And to finally adopt the statement of accounts for 23-24 as set out in Annex 4. Members will have seen the statement of accounts in the July authority and had a chance to discuss it then. This is the final audited version. So without further ado, I'll hand over to the tag team of Grace and Oscar.
Thank you, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Grace Hawkins, the engagement lead for the 23-24 audit. So our first item on the agenda is our audit findings report. This outlines our work against mainly through the significant risks, but also any audit findings and recommendations that have been raised as part of the work as well, and coincides with the adjusted statements that you've also got on the agenda. The most important thing to say is that the opinion will be unqualified, which is obviously a great position to be in, and hopefully we'll be able to issue that opinion following this meeting, subject to approval and signed documents being sent through to us. As Ben's already alluded to, there's a couple of recommendations in the back of the report, and I'll let Oscar go through some of the detail on those now.
Thank you, Grace. Sorry, that's right. Okay. Sorry there, we just have some technical difficulties. Can you hear me okay? Yep, okay. So yeah, just to introduce myself, so I'm Oscar Edwards, I'm the audit manager, so my role is to have responsibility for the day-to-day management of the audit, so I'm the key contact for the finance team to hold discussions with, and I review all of the audit work that's completed, and that kind of thing. So just to start with, just to give a high-level summary, as Grace has mentioned, the audit's gone really well this year, and we've reached this position much sooner than we did in the prior year. As you may well know, the audit team this year has been brand new to Exmoor, and I think we've built up a good working relationship with the finance team at Exmoor. And just before I get into the meat of the report, I'd just like to thank members of the finance team for their support in turning around queries in a timely manner throughout, and I think it's been a massive help to enable us to get to this position. So I'll now take you through the main findings of the report. So as communicated previously in our audit plan, we have 3 significant risk areas. There's been no changes to that during the final accounts work, so it's exactly the same as previously communicated. If you turn to page 15 of your packs, which is Annex 1, page 9, you will find a summary of our significant risk areas. Our first significant risk area is management override of controls. As part of our work in this area, we tested 27 journals, which were selected on a risk-based approach. We've completed our work on this area and we've not identified any issues. All the journals were found to be valid business-related journal entries. There's nothing else to bring to your attention on this area. So I will move on to the next page in the report, which is page 10, which is our second risk area, which is land and building revaluations. Overall, our procedures in this area haven't identified any significant issues to bring to your attention. We have identified a number of recommendation points, which you can see in Appendix B of the report, and we also have identified one minor error on the face of the comprehensive income and expenditure statement, which was adjusted for. Again, you'll be able to find that in Appendix D. I won't go into too much detail on the recommendations, but happy to take any questions on anything after I've finished going through this part of the report. If you turn over the page again, our final area of significant risk is the pension liability estimate. Again, our work on this area is now complete and there's no significant issues to report. As part of the procedures we do in this area, we review the actuary to make sure that they have the correct level of expertise to perform their work. We also perform a review of the actuary's work to ensure that all the actuarial assumptions used are reasonable. We didn't identify any issues in that regard. Just to let you know as well, since we've sent this version of the AFR to you, we have now received our letter from the pension fund auditor, so that was the last procedure that we needed to complete in order to close down this work. So we've received that now. The only other thing to inform you of that isn't currently in this version of the AFR is that we did identify a understatement of the pension fund assets, which was in the region of several million pounds, but the impact on Exmoor is only about 7.8k understatement of your assets. So it's just above trivial, so we have to report it, but it's not something we would expect you to amend for. So in that sense, there isn't any impact on your accounts. But the AFR will be updated and shared with you alongside the final opinion. The only other thing to say on pensions, as communicated in the last meeting, we've reviewed the impact of IFRIC 14 and performed various additional procedures as required by central guidance. But there's no impact on the authority's financial statements for IFRIC 14, so I won't go into any more detail than that. If you go down further into the report, Appendix D shows all the various adjustments we've identified on the audit, all of which have been adjusted for, so there's no issues in that regard. I'll take the remainder of the report as read, but happy to field any questions on any of the detail.
Thank you, Oscar. Members. Andy.
Thank you. Firstly, well done and thank you. I know there's a lot of backlog right across the country for reports, so really appreciate getting this sort of in a timely manner, and thanks to staff. Just a bit of a typo really, which I think probably to do with being corrected. That's Annex 1, page 7. And it's actually in the conclusion. So it says we've substantially completed our audit for your financial statements, and it says as we did anticipate issuing an unqualified audit. Now I did look it up to make sure it's a technical word I didn't know and understand. It's not in the dictionary. I just think because that is probably the key sentence in the whole paper, that could do with just being corrected just for public record. Thank you.
Yeah, very well spotted.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll update that in the final version this year later today, hopefully.
Interesting word.
Sounds as if it could be a word.
I feel we ought to make it a word. It's a good word. Anything else, members? No? No? Okay.
We did it all in July.
Sorry?
We did it all in July.
Yeah, we did actually do it all in July. Yes. As we're in a public meeting, we need to actually say something.
Can I just add one thing then?
Yeah.
I'll add what I always add at every such meeting. These documents and papers are devilishly difficult for the public to know and understand the important bits within them. And I've asked auditors again, I'll continue to ask. I do think there should be a summary at the beginning of each one covering the pertinent points to save people wading through what a lot of it is sort of cut and paste and will appear in every set of accounts sort of around the country. So I will repeat that refrain and won't give up on that unless something changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we're going to go on to Annex 2 now, if we may. So over to our external auditors. I don't know who's taking this one.
Yes, I can introduce this one and then I'll hand over to Chi. So, another area of our responsibilities is delivering a report on your value for money arrangements. So we do that each year alongside the opinion work on the financial statements. So we have a separate report called our Auditor's Annual Report, which is published each year and is required to be published on your website as well when it's complete. I'll let Chi go through the work that's completed by our specialist team and the findings as a result of the work performed.
Thank you, Grace. Good day, members and everyone. My name is Chi Emeshe, and I'm an assistant manager with the Value for Money Audit team. So in our recently concluded Value for Money audit of the Park Authority, our assessment focused mostly on 3 areas, which is financial sustainability, governance, and improving efficiency, economy, and effectiveness. So these areas are more or less to evaluate the authority's arrangements for securing value for money. And the assessment aims to ensure that the authority was managing its resources effectively in the 23-24 financial year. So on Annex 2, page 5, is an executive summary of our work across the 3 areas. I'm happy to say that no significant weakness was identified in the arrangements that we assessed. However, we did have one improvement recommendation which relates to the Standards Committee self-assessment. And more details are on Annex 2, page 16. So during the time of our audit, we did not have sufficient evidence to confirm that a self-assessment was done in 23-24. As such, we have recommended that the Standards Committee formally documents and publishes its annual self-assessment, including evidence of the assessment and actions taken to address any areas of improvement. So at this point, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, and I'm happy to tell you as soon as this meeting's finished, the Standards Committee are meeting, so that's helpful, I think. So any questions from members here? No? Quiet? No? Andy?
Be it right, be it wrong, I haven't heard about a Standards Committee and a self-assessment. Is that something that a lot of councils do and don't do? It's sort of a new one on me, so I just wondered if it's something new or something we're recently sort of picking up with auditors.
Yeah, so in the sense of councils, usually it would be the audit committee who would carry out like a self-assessment on the effectiveness. So in May 2022, we did recommend that the authority should sort of implement this self-assessment, which is a good practice across councils and as well as national parks. And it has been carried out, but for 23-24, we didn't find that assessment done. So it's something that we acknowledge that the authority has implemented and started to do, but perhaps it was missed for 23-24, and that was why we sort of brought up the improvement recommendation again.
Just to respond, is there some guidance or a format or something laid out as to what you expect within that? I think that would be helpful.
Yes, more details are on the CIPFA local government guidance. There's a model that the CIPFA local authority guidance provides, and we can share that as well. But I know that there is a checklist that the authority has established to carry out this assessment, so it's already in place. It's more or less getting it done in the year that we could not evidence as part of our review.
Thank you, Lynn, for the day.
Thank you, that's very helpful. So we've got a recommendation from there which we'll take on board, and then we come back to the letter of representation, which we will need to vote on at Annex 3, which is very standard. So are we all happy with that? Thank you. And then finally, we need to adopt the statement of accounts, which we have seen and been through back in July, was it? It was July, wasn't it? It was when we were in the summer, yeah, now with the winter. So there's nothing changed there, so that's already been through the authority meeting. So if we go back to the recommendations, I'm going to take them all together. So can I have somebody to propose them, please? Thank you, Mandy. And a seconder? Thank you, Stephen. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry to members of the public, it's such a short meeting. There is another one to come. Can I thank our external auditors for coming along? It's very good to see you, and thank you for all the work that's put in. And most of all, I'd like to thank you, Ben. This is amazing. Again, all down to you. Thank you. Could you pass on our thanks to the team, please?
I will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.